mic, camera, action.
A man like you could probably resolve this case in how long? 12 hours?
Less.
You would be the perfect man for the job.
Yes. Man who might be interested in taking the job.
Start a new job in the morning.
I don't usually do this sort of a job. There was a problem with the job. The best jobs are the ones nobody ever knows you were there. You want me to stay alive and complete the job? I need some clarification. Yeah, she brought us a job in the first place. Well, you took the job and I'm not leaving you here. Didn't know just the man for the job. I know a man for the job. What it's worth, I think you're doing a great job. X-rated kilos means the Coney shock absorbers I installed for this job will not give us the ability to outmaneuver any police that might be chasing us. Time to finish the job. What's the job? That's not a job like 100 others. Some jobs need to look like accidents.
At least with me, it doesn't take 12 months to get the job done.
You gotta get a job in New York.
Who was he?
A job. I'm not sure what's more worrying. The job or your past. What do you want?
We got a problem with the job.
The job's done.
Welcome back to Filmography, the show dedicated to watching every credited film from an actor's complete back catalogue, from past debut through to present day, in chronological order. Each episode I'm joined by an esteemed guest to watch and discuss the next entry from the faker's filmography, and consider how it ranks amidst their career, and whether we can trace any typecasting trends or topic traits or theatrical tics. For episode 47, to wrap up season 1, I'm joined by film fan and festival organiser Tessa to decide which of the Stath's classic films is the absolute tip-top Mae West. So, Tessa, thank you very much for coming on the show. I obviously discovered your Stath fandom late in my run. I think you would have been a key guest all the way through the series if I'd known. But I'm really glad to have you on and hear how, when, where, why your love for the Stath started and what you think of his filmography and what are his classics.
Well, thank you for having me. It's nice to be here, and I'm quite happy to be the extra at the end.
Nice, I like that.
The Statham surprise fan.
Yeah, you're like the Stath in Collateral. Like you just turn up for a little moment, make a big impact, and off you go.
Yeah, there's something about the Stath. It's always if I see a film on and he's in it, and I haven't seen it before. I don't know. There's something. He's very, even though he's not the best actor in the world, and he quite freely admits that. There's something very charismatic about him. And I think it's that down to earth, non-arrogant thing as well, because he could quite easily be arrogant, but he's very, he says, I'm not a great actor. I'm very lucky to end up in these things, and they give me the lines and I say them. But yeah, I think he's great. He's very funny too.
It's so interesting hearing you say that. As I said at the start, some let's come to this later. You're saying things that people have been saying from the start and all the way through. Like some of that language is like down to earth. I think that seems to be true, doesn't it? He seems fairly normal. Doesn't seem changed by what he's experienced. And grateful.
Yeah. Just an East End lad.
East End lad from Derby, right?
Yeah, he just puts on the East End. But didn't he start off as like a swimmer? Or
a diver,
a diver. And there's like dancing videos of him. Was he a model?
A model, yeah, that's right.
So he got into the dancing video, because that dancing video I've seen of him is quite scary.
Yeah. He's in a couple actually, I think, isn't he? Yeah, but the one when he's like all oiled up and he's dancing around, and absolutely,
that's the one I've seen.
Yeah, and then obviously a street seller, and that's where Guy Ritchie discovered him and literally wrote the part of Bacon and Lock, Stock for him, and then that's it. The world changed for him from there, didn't it?
Yeah, and it's funny because when I was growing up, Lock, Stock was very popular, and as a Jason Statham fan, it's quite. I hate to say this, but I'm not really a Lock, Stock fan. I think I need to watch it again now. I haven't seen it for years and years and years, but it never I never got the lock stock fandom.
Mm-hmm.
But then when Snatch came out, for some reason, I really like that one. So I think I should give Lock, Stock another chance. But I'm interested to know what's your favorite between Lock, Stock and Snatch, kind of because they're in the same kind of boat.
They are, and one of them will be in my personal top 5. I'd be interested to see if one or we know which one won't be, but if one will be in yours as well. I think obviously we haven't discussed, and people often don't like to talk about ages. I don't know where we're at in terms of age scale compared to each other. I was 18 when Lock, Stock came out, so it probably hit perfect for me. I was in that kind of Tarantino-esque in indie, still in that kind of phase, I think, as I've been from sort of 15 onwards.
Yeah.
And still now, actually, to be fair, 44, still am now. So I think it probably really hit at a really good time for me, because it was like, whoa, now we've got a British Quentin Tarantino, amazing. And I have that nostalgic feeling for it. I think I can look at it and understand it's not one of the Stath's best or one of Guy Ritchie's best. However, because of where I was at the time and when the film came out, it means something to me.
Yeah, all of my friends absolutely loved it at that time. Yeah, it was adored and watched day after day after day in our shared house.
It feels kind of like another kind of poster movie, doesn't it? Like Trainspotting, Pulp Fiction, Lock, Stock. We all, at that era, we all had them up in our rooms or in our dorm rooms, wherever we were living. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think I do need to give that film another chance very soon. And I'll let you know.
Yeah, please do. I always feel about those two the way I do about like Oasis, which is a weird segue, I guess. I didn't set that up very well, but like Lock, Stock and Snatch feel kind of like definitely maybe in What's the Story, Morning Glory.
I thought you were going to say Oasis and Blur.
Yeah, okay. But as in like What's the Story is clearly like a more polished, better album, but I kind of like the rawness. I like the...
Yeah, it's kind of like a gentrified version, maybe.
100%. Yeah. I like that's how I kind of feel about Lock, Stock and Snatch.
I think I always said Trainspotting 2 was the gentrified version of Trainspotting.
Yeah, I like that. That's nice. Yeah, I've never heard it described that way, but I think that's something that could catch on. I think you've started it right here, right now.
Yeah, so many things get gentrified these days. I think that's why. And also they do mention the great wave of gentrification in Trainspotting 2. Anyway,
okay.
Gone off on it.
No, it's interesting. Like they themselves are kind of calling it out and knowing, but that sounds like a Boyle-esque thing that he knows what he's doing there, doesn't he?
Oh, definitely.
So with the Stath, I have covered 46 movies now. As I said, it's taken me a couple of years. How many of those do you think you've seen? And I'm putting you on the spot here, but ballpark figure, or have you really done your research and gone through?
No, I haven't. I will, though, after this. Out of 46 films of Jason Statham, I don't know. I mean, I've probably only seen about 50%, to be honest. And you've seen them all, right?
I have now. Yeah, there were a few before this I hadn't seen. I think there were probably about half a dozen. So I was still kind of rewatching most of these anyway through this project. But the ones I hadn't seen, I don't think I've missed out on much.
No, I would say 50% I've probably seen. I mean, I might surprise myself and have seen more.
Yeah,
but I think with the films that I like of his, they'll be re-watches for me. I mean, can I tell you my favorite Jason Statham film now?
Go for it, please do. Yeah, go for it.
My favorite Jason Statham film is Spy,
and
I have watched that film numerous occasions. I think that he's absolutely hilarious in that, and no matter how many times I see it, he will always make his words will always make me laugh. And one day I will know his entire monologue.
Yeah, absolutely.
Talking to Melissa McCarthy about I've had this arm ripped off and replaced with this arm. I'm gonna learn that one day and just repeat it.
Yeah, do it. I love it. I really hope some like drama student thespians at times have turned up and they've prepared a piece, and that's what they prepared. I'd love that idea. They've walked in and
that's what I would do. And even though he says he's not a great actor, like I think with that's very difficult. He's got to learn all that and he makes it funny. And he's so funny in Spy. He just makes me laugh constantly.
I
just think yeah, maybe he should just be a full-time comedian. But
wow, yeah,
that's one of my ultra comfort films. And he's so comforting in that. I love it.
Spy will come up a lot throughout our conversation, I think. When I read out some of the previous guest picks as well, Spy is going to come up. And I think it is a seminal moment in his career. As you said, having now watched all of them, I guess I can class myself as a Stath superfan now. And I think in terms of finishing a filmography, it is quite rare, isn't it? Like, I don't think, unless you're going out your way to do it, it's quite hard to see an actor's complete back catalogue. And even this, actually, I haven't watched any of the films which he's been uncredited in. So if they're films which, he doesn't get a cast credit, I've left those off the list because this was already going to take quite a long time as it is.
Oh, does he get a cast credit in Collateral?
He does, yeah, which is why that was on the I watched it on that and discussed it on the list. Yeah.
Yes, because I put that on my little note because I love Collateral.
Yeah, that was an amazing movie. And I think I haven't listened to it yet. There was a link sent to me by a friend, it might have even been Spider-Dan, to be fair, about how the writer of Collateral recently, or it probably wasn't, but I've seen it recently, discussed how he believes Stath's character in Collateral is Frank Martin from the Transporter movies.
Yeah, I was reading that the other day, and it does make sense.
Of course it does, yeah. I mean, he moves from France to America at some point in that Transporter timeline, so why can this not be part of the move? Yeah.
Yeah, and I do love Collateral, but I suppose it's not really a Jason Statham film, but it still counts.
It does still count. And I now can't find the article, and I discussed this on the episode. I swear when that came out, that there was, I read somewhere or I heard on the grapevine, that was in an era when, stuff was on the, Ain't It Cool and Coming Soon and all those kind of websites where you were excited about finding news out and going on it every day. I swear I heard that he was the original choice for the Wolf, but then when Cruise said, actually I like this character, of course Michael Mann was like, oh well, I'll have Tom Cruise then. But I now can't find any evidence of that, so maybe I did make it up in my head. I don't know.
I don't know, it would kind of work, but yeah, Tom Cruise does really work though in that role.
He does, yeah. I think when you've got the choice of the two, as much as I love the Stath,
and Tom Cruise really put the work in, I think, to be unlikable.
Yeah, he did.
And ruthless.
And which is quite hard work for him, isn't it? Because, putting aside personal stuff, which I think most people have put aside now, which is good, on screen, he is always, to use that word you used about the Stath, a charismatic persona. He's always appealing in some sort of way. So, to turn that around and to be so, as you said, ruthless and so villainous, it was quite a turn for him.
Yeah, because he's like the #1 movie star in the world, really. The Cruise. Although I didn't watch his Olympic thing last night.
No, neither did I.
I just couldn't be bothered.
No, fair enough.
I had enough of Cruise now. we only want Statham now.
Well, that's it. Yeah, that's it. Absolutely. Other than I went off a massive tangent, didn't I? I did start talking about Spy, and I was going to say that I think it's quite a seminal moment for him and his filmography, but also in terms of how he views himself. Like you said, and you're absolutely right. I've watched a lot of interviews with him now where he talks about, I'm so lucky. I'm having a great time. Why would I say no? And all these kind of things. But he didn't himself believe that he was funny. And then obviously he got Spy and the whole world went, Stath, Jace, you are really, really funny. And I think he kind of believed it from there. And then we get his roles in like Fast and the Furious and the Meg, where he's kind of, I don't think that step up comes without Spy.
Yeah, and he's always just like an action guy, a serious guy. But I assume, it might have been the casting director in Spy or Paul Feig or someone else, the producers. But obviously they must have seen that in him.
Yeah, absolutely. And obviously, I even feel like in the Guy Ritchie stuff early on, he wasn't, there was comedic elements to it, wasn't there? It's kind of dry. It's that British dryness. But they obviously saw something in him, and then the whole world did, which we're all grateful for. Yeah,
we're very grateful. And we want a Spy too. I want a Spy too.
Yeah, what would you do for Spy 2?
Well, I definitely have Jason back. But yeah, that's a good question, because Spy is so good, isn't it? And you don't want to like make a sequel that's disappointing compared to it. But I just bring them all back into another silly spy romp.
Yeah,
all of them back.
So you'd have Jude Law back. Obviously, you'd have Melissa McCarthy back.
Yeah, all of them.
Okay.
Rose Byrne back. Rose Byrne out
Sure.
of prison. Maybe she breaks out of prison.
Nice. Or you could do like a kind of 48 hours thing where she knows they need her in order for the mission to be a success.
Yeah. Yeah.
I like that idea.
Yeah. Have you seen The Jackal with Richard Gere and Bruce Willis?
I have, a long time ago.
When you have to break Richard Gere out of prison.
Okay.
With the plot.
Nice.
Yeah, that kind of thing.
That could work. Yeah, I like it. I'm sure he'd be up for it as well.
And Rose Byrne with a shaved head.
Oh yeah, Sigourney Weaver style. Yeah.
Yeah. Melissa McCarthy was always talking about shaving her head off.
Oh, was she?
Yeah, she's like just that big set of hair that Rose Byrne has in Spy. I did watch it the other night again, so
okay.
It's firmly in my memory.
Well, when this happens, we've manifested it right here.
Yes, we have. I think he's made a sequel to A Simple Favor too.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, so he's got to get on with Spy 2 now.
Yeah. Is that his? Yeah, I wouldn't have. Is that his first sequel?
I think so. Yeah.
So he's not now adversed them. That's interesting. I would never have thought of a Simple Favor is a great fun movie, but
this is one of my favorite lines of Jason Statham in Spy is at the end. They're just walking along, and they're like, "Where'd you get that suit?" He's like, "I fucking made it, didn't I?"
Sure.
He's like, "Is this a fucking lake?" Sorry for swearing. But
swearing is fine. Yeah, he swears. Swearing is fine. It's not a problem.
It's just so funny.
Yeah, I think I agree, and it's every time he's on screen, he lights it up. Something we've discussed all the way through this project is that he's always got good chemistry with whoever he's with, by and large, and it works really well with Melissa McCarthy in that movie too, doesn't it?
Oh, it does. And then when you see the at the end when they're in bed together, and they're obviously just having a right laugh about it, and you just see him right at the end credits. They just both just burst into laughter, and they obviously had a great time filming together. And I think. I mean, I'm a huge fan of Paul Feig. I think that he's really a brilliant, supportive, funny director to work for. So that really shines through, I think, in Spy with their teamwork.
Yeah, 100%. And I think maybe the Stath brought some of that, on the Guy Ritchie sets. I know they're always teasing each other, and there's quite a lot of banter on those sets. So I guess it's a bit more lavish, probably, than what a Paul Feig set would be. But yeah, I think he is that kind of guy behind the scenes, isn't he? He does have that energy. He does want to have a good time.
Yeah, definitely.
Whatever he's working on, it appears.
Yeah.
Whether it's Paul Feig, Guy Ritchie, working with Sly, whoever it might be on the Fast movies. Yeah. All right, so we've got your favourite. Now, this is amongst the classics or just your favourite of any Jason Statham movie?
Spy is my favourite of any.
So it wouldn't matter anyway. It's the favourite.
Yes.
Okay, so if you indulge me for a second, I will read out all the previously chosen classic movies amongst his 46, and I'll mention who chose them. So if people want to agree or disagree, they know who to go and find on the internet.
Mm-hmm.
So Lock, Stock was picked as a classic, and that was chosen by Spider-Man. And then Snatch was chosen as a classic, and that was chosen by Tony Farina and Tonya Todd. That was an episode when I had two guests on. And then an interesting one, The One, was chosen by Blake Byles. He chose it as it's kind of that first time you see him in action movie mode.
Mm-hmm.
And then The Transporter was picked by Spider-Dan. We're going to hear Spider-Dan's name quite a lot. He's a very positive, generous guy. So that carries through his reviews of the movies that we've watched together. Transporter 2 was chosen by Spider-Dan as a classic. And then Crank was chosen by Paul DeMac as a classic.
What
so at
about
this point,
Transporter 3? Sorry.
No, sadly that was not chosen. So we're at 2006 now. So this is the first, we're hitting upon the first kind of decade of his career. There's quite a few there. Is there any of those which surprise you, or do you think they're all kind of fairly chosen?
The ones you just read out?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, The One is quite surprising, I suppose.
Mm-hmm,
I haven't actually seen that one. Is that with Jet Li?
Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't seen that one. But I shall watch it. But generally, I was a bit surprised if you're going to put Transporter 2 on, Transporter 3. They come as one.
Yeah. Have you seen all three of them? Have you seen the third
one?
I
do. I have them all on Blu-ray.
Okay. So you do know why Transporter 3 is not there, right?
Yeah, actually, the other night I was so tired, and I was looking after a family member, and I went back, and on TV the Transporter had just started, and it was just heaven after a long day. Like that was exactly the kind of film I wanted to watch.
But had it been Transporter 3, you might have changed channels.
Perhaps, yeah. But yeah, no, not particularly surprising, apart from the one.
The one, yeah. Okay, moving through, we've got Death Race in 2008, and that was chosen by Tony Farina. And then Expendables, and that was chosen by Max Byrne. Then Safe was chosen by Scott Weatherly, and then Expendables 2 was chosen by Max Byrne. Hopefully you'll notice a pattern. What I try to do is get the same guest back for franchise movies, so we could, as a pair, keep talking about them as they went. And then maybe the only other one which people might question, the next surprise, would be Homefront. That was chosen by Glyn. And then we get to Spy, which was chosen by Rhea Carrigan, who is my sister, and Blake, who came back on for that show. Then Mechanic Resurrection was chosen by Glyn. And then we hit that kind of the next phase of the Stath career. So that middle section, through a lot of those, I was talking about is being kind of a safe Stath section of his career. Perhaps not Spy, but the rest of them, we get a lot of these kind of, Homefront, Safe. I do really like Safe, actually. But Parker, we got these kind of like bog standard Stath movies. Yeah,
I agree. They're just kind of, very safe. You kind of know what you're going to get. An action film, something will happen, and Stath will have to save the day or help save the day. Pretty your basic. You've got go into that film with no surprises about what's going to happen.
Yeah, I think that definitely that happened in that middle section of his career. And then, we discussed it. Spy kicked on. Go on.
Was he in the Expendables 3?
He was, but that was also not chosen.
And the fourth one? Because I didn't see
No, don't bother. The fourth was actually, he's the main focus. He's the main character in the fourth one. So I think they hoped that would kick off a new trilogy, but it is not good.
Oh, I was going to say maybe I should watch it, but...
There's a section where he's kind of like Die Hard on a cargo ship, which is kind of cool. But yeah, it just misses the mark for what those movies are. Those movies are set up to be old action icons, but there's just nobody left anymore that's turning up in it, unfortunately. And it's just a badly made action movie, unfortunately.
Yeah, they needed to know when to stop, maybe.
Or put all the money into getting other names.
Yeah.
We did discuss when we did the episode, like who was kind of left, and we were a bit bereft. We were a bit unsure, but then, there were some. If you're moving through the ages, you start in the 80s, then you get Jean-Claude Van Damme, you move into the 90s, and there were a few people left that you could have picked up, but yeah, it just misses the mark, unfortunately. The biggest name is, you've got Megan Fox in it as the female lead, and you've got I can't even think what his name is now. 50 Cent is kind of like the biggest draw in Expendables 4.
They should have gone all out and just brought in like Jamie Lee Curtis, Sigourney Weaver, Linda Hamilton.
Well, that would have been amazing because they've been talking about Expendables for years, haven't they?
Yeah.
It's never
Bring
happened.
in the women. The women and Jason stuff.
Yeah. I would have liked that. That would have been good.
Yeah, because he obviously doesn't have... some macho men have a problem working with a lot of women, but from the impression I get from Jason Statham, he doesn't seem to have that problem.
No, not at all. I think he might have quite enjoyed working with that cast. And fair play to him. And then we hit kind of the third act of his career, really. So in the last 10-ish years, or last 7, 8 years, we get The Fate of the Furious from 2017, and that was chosen by Chris and Dave from the VHS Strikes Back podcast. Then The Meg, and that was chosen by Mike and Megan. Wrath of Man is chosen by Scott Weatherly. Operation Fortune is chosen by Tony Farina. And then last but not least, The Beekeeper is chosen by Glenn Davies. So that's my set of like guest classic movies, and your favourite Spy is in there.
Yes.
How do you feel about the rest? Is there any of those amongst them that you would also consider kind of top 5 classic Stath movies?
Definitely The Meg. I remember when The Meg came out, because I've always been a fan of a shark film. And when The Meg came out, I remember it was 2018. It was heavily advertised. Jason Statham versus a big shark, Megalodon. And it just how serious he can be with those lines. And I loved the Meg so much, and I thought it had real heart in it as well, like the romantic relationship in it. Like I really like that. I went to see the Meg like 4 times in the cinema.
Okay.
I just adored it. Unfortunately for me, the Meg 2 didn't.
Oh, really? Okay. That's how Mike and Megan felt when they came back for Meg 2. They felt similar, that it didn't quite do it for them.
No.
What was it about the sequel for you that let you down?
Just seemed a bit messy. Tried to play with too many ideas. It lost that nice romantic relationship it had from the first one. I really like the characters in the first one. Like it's important in an action film to really, introduce good characterization. Aliens is the main example of this. Like every character in Aliens, within the first 5-10 minutes. And I think the Meg did that quite well. It's good writing, and I thought, I think one thing that lets a lot of these films down, like Meg 2, is just the writing. It's just not that. There's not a lot of heart put into it. It's just lazy. Whereas I was so I just love the Meg so much. With like the best film of the year for me, 2018.
The expectations were high for the sequel as well.
Yeah. Yeah. They were very high, but yeah. But sometimes, I try not to get too hyped up now. Like I'm trying not to get too hyped up about Alien Romulus.
Sure.
Just see what happens.
Yeah, I think I've noticed a trend on X, as it's called now. Like Aliens is a big deal for you. It's a big movie for your fandom, isn't it?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Aliens is my favorite film. It's been a big part of my life. I think it's just a perfect film. Action and horror and sci-fi, all the best genres. Imagine if Jason Statham was in it. He'd be a great Marine. Oh my god.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
He would be great.
I guess he's kind of done his version of that, which was Ghosts of Mars.
Yeah, I had that on my list. Yeah, because that's one of my favorite films of his, when he actually has hair.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah,
a little bit of hair.
Yeah, that kind of fuzzy duck, fluffy. Yeah.
Yeah, Ghosts of Mars is kind of an odd film, but I like it. Yeah.
And do you think that's because it has that kind of Aliens feel to it?
Definitely, yeah. I love all that sci-fi stuff. I really like that film. I would even say it's not a great film, but it's a bit silly, but it's a really enjoyable film to watch. And that was obviously before he was famous, really.
Yeah.
Just kind of getting to know Jason Statham. That's one of my favorites of his. It's kind of niche, I think, for the action Jason Statham fans.
Oh, definitely. And another film where he was originally going to be the lead, I think.
Oh, really?
And then I was just doing a desperate, trying to IMDb scramble search as I was talking. It was Ice Cube, wasn't it, who is the lead in that in the end, I think.
Oh, yeah.
And so as soon as he became interested again, I think, we're looking at 2001. Ice Cube's probably still a big deal music-wise, and he's transitioning at this point into acting, isn't he? So I think, again, the Stath was going to be the lead in that, and then Ice Cube put his hand up, and he lost that role too.
Poor Stath. He's like, oh, yeah, I'll be the lead. Oh, no, it's okay then.
And then he gets to play the sex pest instead.
He seems pretty easygoing about it all.
Oh, he does.
Going back to your list as well.
Please.
I don't know why. I just, I haven't actually seen Operation Fortune. I don't know. I wasn't excited about that. But then The Beekeeper, I was like, oh my God, this looks amazing. It's Jason Statham, like beekeeping. This is like the best premise I've ever heard in my life. So I was so excited about The Beekeeper. I went to see it like first thing when it came out on Friday. Because he was, it's just so tongue in cheek because it's so serious. And they're like, oh my God, it's The Beekeeper. Like, you should all just be careful, it's The Beekeeper. And I just love how serious it is.
Yeah, I agree. It toes that line perfect, doesn't it? Because it knows, but it plays with the knowing.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've listened to the How Did This Get Made episode of that as well.
I haven't, no.
I don't know if you listened to that show. They were actually here in the UK, and they recorded that at the Prince Charles Cinema in London. A friend of mine went to it. I was really jealous I didn't go, but I hadn't seen it at that point, and I'm a real stickler for doing these things in order. So like I have to have seen, film 43 and recorded on film 43 before I watch film 44. It's my kind of obsessional mind there. So at the point they were here recording, I wasn't at that point for the Beekeeper, so I was holding off on it. I wanted to watch it like fresh and original for the show. But they did a supercut in their version of their coverage of it, of how many times they say beekeeper or beekeeping. It's amazing. But I think they know that. I think it's all done as a joke, isn't it?
Oh, definitely. And it's such a premise you can get behind. He's just trying to have a quiet life, protective of his next door neighbor who gets screwed over by scammers, which we're all aware of. And you just really root for him, and it's just that's never been done before. Like some action films like always the same. But how many are there about beekeepers?
Right, sure. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
One of my friends didn't like it. He said it was very silly, and I was like, yeah, that's part of his charm.
Yeah, agreed.
It's like Trap. Have you seen Trap?
I have not yet, no.
Because that's very silly, but that is part of its charm.
Yeah, fair. So if you go along for the ride that they're intending, then you'll enjoy it, sure. But if you push back, I can see that, yeah. And that's something that we've discussed a lot as well. After the main kind of discussion for each film with the guests, I then read out some select letterboxd reviews.
Oh, yeah.
And quite a lot of times, yeah, it's good fun, isn't it? Quite a lot of times we've taken about the idea of like the person reviewing clearly has not come into this movie with what you said, like with the right frame of mind. Like they're watching a Jason Statham action movie. What did they expect? It wasn't going to be Shawshank. It wasn't going to be. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a really funny bit in The Beekeeper as well. When you said letterboxd, I think I put that on my letterboxd. There's someone who says to him, I sense a bit of an English accent in your voice. It's like, well, he literally is just speaking in his English accent. Yeah. Hilarious.
That is something we've discussed all the way through as well. How it's bad American accents.
He can't do accents, and that's
he cannot. Other than the one fake one he does all the time. Yeah.
He's not Old Vic trained.
No.
Where they learn to do all their accents. So that's fair enough.
No, what is amazing, and I racked my brains when we did the Beekeeper episode, was I think that's the first time I can remember there being mention of him having a British accent in a movie where clearly he should be American, or he's trying to put on an American accent. And you think like back to Arnie and Van Damme, like every movie they had to give some sort of throwaway explanation of like why this US military top dog Marine has an Austrian accent, why this kid that grew up in Hong Kong has a French accent. But they never seem to bother doing it for the state until The Beekeeper. You're right.
Yeah, that really made me laugh.
We particularly highlighted the scene when when the first kind of main scammer guy has gone to the farm and tried to take him out. We spoke about how upsetting it is when the hives and the honey get destroyed. Like actually, like really upsetting seeing that happen because of how passionate he is about it.
Yeah, it's really sad. I hate seeing innocent bees get killed.
And actually, Dan and I did that episode with him as well as Glyn, and he picked out like that was like kind of the John Wick dog.
Yeah.
Which I hadn't thought about before, but he's absolutely right. But it's the scene on the bridge when he catches up with a guy and he sends him off like attached to the car. For me, that's the bit that stays in my mind constantly. That the shot of the guy being dragged and very clearly being a dummy, but still looks amazing, being pulled into the river.
Yeah, I definitely need to see that again. I think it's what I need to own.
Yeah, I watched it twice in 3 months because of the coverage of the show, and the second time was still just as enjoyable as the first.
Yeah, it's awesome.
So, Spy for sure, and then we've discussed some films, but are they ones which you would put in your top 5 as well?
The Meg, I would.
The Meg, you would, yeah.
I would. I mean, there's a couple of other films. So there's another film I really like, which I would put in my top 5, which not many people seem to talk about, but it's Hummingbird. And it's also called Redemption, I think.
That's right, yeah.
I caught that on TV one night a few years ago, and I was like hooked. It was one of those films where you can't go to sleep until you watch the end of it. So you just put the TV on late at night. And yeah, I really like that film. I think he plays like he plays a really serious man, a serious role, and there's a lot of like care that comes through him in that film. I think that's one of his best performances. I don't know if I'm on my own.
No. Yeah, I remember discussing that film and talking about, because that was within the safe Stath period. But now some of them have started to merge, I'll be honest. So you'll be able to help remind me, I'm sure. This is the one when he's friends with the nun.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. No, absolutely. Yeah, we discussed that as being, I'm not sure why the guest at that point, that might have been Glyn again for that episode. I can't remember, but why that didn't make it onto the classic list. But yeah, we definitely discussed that as being a stronger one from that period of his career.
But I also like about his films that like everyone can like them in different ways. And it's just kind of what, like, you know, and I think it's because it was set in London. There was a lot of like Covent Garden, an area I'm very familiar with. And I thought that the woman who played the nun, I thought that nun character was really interesting. Yeah, you don't see that a lot. And he was like hiding, and they just formed that bond. I thought it was really good.
That's when he's living in the rich guy's apartment, isn't it? He like falls in through the skylight and
and he stays. He's basically squatting.
Yeah.
But yeah, I really like Hummingbird or Redemption.
Okay, so that would make your list.
Yeah, so Spy, The Meg, Hummingbird. I mean, probably also, excuse me, probably The Beekeeper would make my list as well. So that gives us one more. So there's one that I really like, but it's not going to make my list because it's quite cheesy. You're going to guess what I'm going to say now. It's a remake.
Oh, Death Race?
No,
that's on the list of classics, isn't it? He's been quite a few remakes, hasn't he?
So it's with Charlize Theron and Ed Norton, who hated being in that film.
Oh, The Italian Job.
Yes.
Yeah.
I have a real soft spot for that film. I used to watch that a lot when I was younger. It's just a really silly, like, it doesn't try to be as good as the original or as classic as the original, but it's got some great characters in it. And I love all the characters. Ed Norton is obviously tied into a contract with the production company, so he just looks like he really doesn't want to be there. And of course, the late great Donald Sutherland's in it. It's got a great cast.
It has. I agree.
And it's really fun to watch. Even though I think I'll put on my letterboxd, this is the most 3-star film you'll ever see. But it's just great fun, and I think Jason Statham is great in that. Good action hero.
He's handsome Rob, isn't he? And that's his character.
Yeah, and he's kind of the lead, really, in that.
Yeah, you're right. It's almost like a pre-Expendables. Like you've got Mark Wahlberg and the Stath as like a double act at the top.
Yeah, oh my God, I completely forgot about Mark Wahlberg.
Well, he is in it.
You probably hate anyone to say that. I forgot Marky Mark was in it.
Oh.
But anyway, I'll go to my other favourite, which is quite random, because I'm not a huge Fast and the Furious fan, but I really have a soft spot for the Hobbs and Shaw spin-off.
Sure. Yeah.
I think that's great fun. And that's an ultimate comfort film for me. I just love it. So much fun.
The chemistry between the two of them is so on. I mean, in all the movies, but particularly that one, you can see why they got given their own spin-off.
Yeah, I thought it was great. And again, they're so funny. Like, their constant bickering, like, on the plane. They just make me laugh so much. And again, Statham's just incredibly funny again. Vanessa Kirby makes this great, like, no nonsense woman between them. And I just think it's a great dynamic. And it's a really fun action film, obviously going to Samoa and everything. So I'd actually put that on my top 5 Jason Statham.
Totally fair. It's a real throwback movie, isn't it? I mean, I've heard people describe it as various things, like kind of a Tango and a Cash for this kind of generation of action stars. And you're right, the trilogy dynamic between the three of them. Vanessa Kirby is amazing. She's there against these two big hulking, at this point, like billion dollar bald superstar men, and she totally not even just like she doesn't like. Can't find. As you can tell, I'm struggling for the words. Like she is as good, if not better than them. In every scene she's with them in.
Yeah, definitely. And you can totally buy Vanessa Kirby and Jason Statham as brother and sister.
Other than the 20-year age gap, yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean, but yeah.
We did discuss that because it's hilarious. I think you're right. The chemistry and the way they talk to each other, I agree. It's only because obviously you do these things for the podcast. We looked at the age difference because when you see like the flashbacks of them, they're meant to be fairly close in age, aren't they?
Yeah, of course.
That doesn't quite track, but Statham's very, very good for his age, obviously. So that's fine.
Yeah, he does. Yeah, and you know, I mean, at least they're not in a romantic relationship. Although she does have a bit of a romantic relationship with The Rock, who is probably the same age.
I would have thought so. Yeah.
So yeah, terrible.
Yeah, that is something which we kind of seem to be moving away from, and that's probably for the best, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
All right. So Spy, The Meg, Hummingbirds, Beekeeper, and then Hobbs and Shaw with a little kind of nod to Italian Job. Now, when we did the Italian Job, Tony was on that. That's who I do my other main podcast with. Yeah, he's a massive fan of Italian Job as well. And I think for the same reasons you said, I think he himself would consider it a classic, but he understands within the Stath filmography, it's not kind of his film.
Yeah.
Although he's really good in it. So I think maybe that's why, if I remember rightly, that's why he decided that he'd put it as a worth catching, because it's not kind of it's not a Stath star out, and it's not one of those films which kind of kicked his career on to the next level.
Oh, indeed. Yeah. So because, you know, Collateral is one of my favorite films as well. And I wouldn't say that's a Stath film, but he's in it. For
1 minute, yeah. I'm not sure you can claim that as your own, unfortunately. For 1 minute of screen time.
Oh, I'd love to have like a more Collateral with Cruise and Statham. I think, yeah, even though I said I've had enough of seeing Tom Cruise, I'd quite happily have a Collateral too.
Yeah, sure. They'd have to do some writing around what happens at the end, wouldn't they? But I'm sure they could do it.
Yeah.
All right. When I looked at the lists, yeah, I don't think we're not a million miles away. I don't think. I guess mine is born out of two things. We discussed it at the start, kind of nostalgia for the early ones, but then also where I think I see the films as like moving his career on. I guess like something like Crank, I absolutely love. I know that's a really divisive film, but again, Crank I could just put on every day and find something to be entertained by or something new I hadn't noticed before. But it doesn't do enough to be a kick on for him, I don't think. So of the two Expendables of the first two, I chose the second one just literally because that's a better movie than the first one. But I think those films are really important for his career. Like Sly, when Sly says, "You're my right-hand man, you're the guy to take the action genre forward," that's got to do your self-confidence a lot of good, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, you're definitely leaning into what's made the Stath who he is.
That's it, 100%. Yeah. So how did he become the Stath? I guess like he starts off as Jason Statham, and at some point he becomes the Stath. This is one of those key movies, I think.
I think I always found Crank too stressful.
Fair enough. Yeah.
It's like I don't enjoy this.
Yeah,
it's like watching someone on speed.
And it is problematic, don't get me wrong. I mean, we discussed in length the sex scene, if you can even call it that. That's a really problematic moment and the most misjudged moment in a movie full of kind of South Park kind of button pushing moments. But again, it's just something where I think they were kind of like, how much can we get away with, really?
Yeah.
And just went for it. And then the second one, even more so. Oh, we got away with Crank? Well, what more can we do?
But that is definitely his film.
Yes, that is definitely his film. Yeah, didn't quite make the cut for me though. So I went Expendables 2, and then I thought Spy, because I agree with everything you said, massively important for his career. And then Lock, Stock for me is important, and I've got that in there as out of the two, out of that and Snatch, because it's the first one, because it was written for him, because Guy Ritchie wanted to make a star of him. I think all that's really nice. He's pretty bad, if that's the right word. Not bad, but his acting in that is not great. He's much, much better in Snatch. There's a massive leap between those two movies.
Acting lessons.
I guess so. Yeah, probably. It's a couple of years. And then the top two for me were quite hard to pick from, but I've gone for the Meg because I think he'd been in 2 Fast and Furiouses by this point, kind of. No, yeah, Fast 7 and Fast 8 he'd been in. He's in Fast 6. He's just got the cameo at the end, isn't it? So he's made movies that have made $1 billion, but he's been part of that massive ensemble. Whereas The Meg was his, and it was still mega bucks.
Yeah.
And then my favorite movie of his, we've discussed it already at length, and I agree with you. It's a comfort movie. I could probably watch it every single day. Is The Transporter.
Yeah,
I love it.
It is a good film. It is very good.
And that's one, as you said, like I was in a house show at that point. We would just put it on and just laugh at it and enjoy it. And
it's pure comfort.
Yeah.
And it's like, he's it's just funny that he's such a caring guy in that, because like I don't like get involved with anything. I don't get involved with anything I transport. Of course, when he realizes it's a human, he can't help but look after it.
No, I mean, it probably helps that it's a beautiful Shu Kui. That probably doesn't hurt. But yeah, I hear you. Absolutely. Yeah. If it had been a middle-aged, grey, portly man, he might have felt a bit different. But that's part of the charm of it as well. And actually, there's not too much of that. We discussed it and we watched it. It's not really kind of leery or objectifying. Their relationship's really quite sweet.
And she's quite, she's not just a sit in the background female character. She has her own character, and she's not pushed over by the male characters. So.
No, she needs to be saved initially, obviously, but the third act is all because of her. She has the agency to want to stop her father, and absolutely, yeah. And it's the action choreography in that is unbelievable, and it's the moment when you realize, oh, whoa, Jason Statham can do this. Like, it's really tight, it's really fast. We obviously have the oiled up scene, which is iconic.
Oh my goodness, yeah. I did see that, like I said, quite recently, and I was like, this scene is amazing.
Yeah.
Real fight. It's aged really well.
It has, and all of those are directed by Corey Yen, who Dan sent me a message today, said has passed away recently, which is really, really sad. But he is from that era of that kind of like improvisational fighting style. So you have that, like Jackie Chan stuff. You have that cool moment when he takes the bike pedals off. So he can stand on the oil and not slip when everyone else is awesome. So that's where that kind of Corey Yen stuff. It's amazing,
Very clever fight scenes, because sometimes in fight scenes, I don't like particularly long fight scenes. I'll phase out. I'm like, there's no narrative going on here. But like in that scene, I was really into it because I hadn't really seen that before.
Yeah.
It's important to make those fight scenes stand out, be choreographed like that. I think and the Transporter 2 kind of loses it, because I put that on afterwards, and I just think the Transporter 2 is still fun, but it's just a bit silly and schmaltzy with that whole love interest thing with the mum and the crazy bad lady. It's all it gets a bit silly.
Yeah, I agree. It's interesting. I thought in my mind Transport 2 I was going to like more. I remember this being my favorite, but it's kind of Looney Tunes. It's kind of cartoony. It pushes things a bit too far.
Yeah, and then they do age differently. I haven't actually watched Transporter 3 for a while, but from what you said earlier, I don't think I want to watch it again.
No, and look, you can probably tell, if I've spent 2+ years of my life watching all of his movies, because I've been releasing an episode every fortnight. I want to like them. Do you know what I mean? I'm watching this every time. I'm going in with a positive mindset. I want to get something out of it, and that one is hard to get something good out of.
Yeah,
it just sort of forgets what the other movies are.
Yeah, no, you're right. The Transporter is a classic.
Good. I'm glad you agree. All right. Anything you want to say about any of his other films before I move on and share what my previous guests have to say?
No, I think I've said everything I wanted to. I'm just looking at that list of films again, because I'm just looking at the list. So I want to see The One. I've never seen Death Race either. Do you think I would like Death Race?
Death Race is really good fun, actually. I don't know if you've watched the original 70s Corman.
No.
So that's that kind of Corman exploitation. That's got Sly Stallone in it in a role, but where that famous kind of I don't want to do that kind of mansplaining thing. But do you know the Death Race like concept?
No.
So set in like thank you. Set in like a dystopian future and every year they have this race where they kind of race across the country. This is the original, sorry. And then they get points for if they mow down like pedestrians, or they cause like accidents, or they cause. So this idea of like, hit a granny, you get 100 points. Hit an infant, you get 1,000 points. Yeah, it's meant to be that, that dystopian kind of exploitation idea. His version is changed. It's set in a prison where it's the same. The concept then is the same. It's prisoners set against other prisoners in this kind of death race. So the stakes are less personal, I suppose, because if a prisoner dies, then I guess you care less than if a granny crossing the street dies. But it's good fun. It's good fun. It's well made, actually. It's actually a Paul W.S. Anderson movie, which they're up and down. Let's be honest, but this is one of his better ones, I would say.
Oh, yeah, I'm just looking at it now. I might give that a watch. Thank you. But yes, Nick, that's it. Thank you.
No, great. All right, sorry for this next section, but please feel free to chip in because I get bored of the sound of my own voice. I don't want you to or anybody that's listening to. But very kindly, a lot of my previous guests sent in their thoughts. I'm going to go through the list now. So 20th Century Geek, which is Scott Weatherly, he said, my top 5 in release order are Snatch, Transporter 2, Crank, The Meg, and then Wrath of Man. He said that would be his Stath box set. Max Byrne, he selected Snatch, The Meg, Expendables 2, Wrath of Man, and The Expendables.
The Meg is very popular.
The Meg is very popular, yeah. And Max is very much a kind of 80s icon era. So to see 2 Expendables on there is not surprising from him. Math, I apologise. I mixed you up with Glyn for the Hummingbird episode. It was Math that was on that one. But Math says, number 5, Wrath of Man. I love both the action and the stories. Okay. Oh, no. I love both the action and the story. And, okay, it wasn't Shakespeare writing, but the fact he's really a bad guy, but you're still rooting for him in his revenge mission works. And he said, number 4, The Meg. Shouldn't work. It shouldn't be good. But the cheese and Stath works so well. And he knows full well what film he is in. And you've mentioned that about him, and it's really important. He always knows what the assignment is, and he dials into the role he's been cast for, doesn't he?
And he doesn't take it all too seriously.
Number 3, he says, is The Transporter, and he said, here is where we get to see the real Stath for the first time, and also oiled up. Number 2 was Spy, and he said that came a close second, seeing his action and comedy chops, and this is top tier. He's the straight man to McCarthy, but they work so well.
They do.
And then his top choice is Snatch. He says, I think this is one of his best, only his second film, but we see more of what we're going to get acting-wise here. And then the kick-ass came later. So I think he wants to celebrate the fact he has drama chops as well as action chops.
Yeah, I think I'm going to have a Lock, Stock and Snatch watch-along this week.
Oh, nice.
A double.
Yeah, please let me know afterwards, like where you land on the Lock, Stock debate as well. Okay, Tony Farina, he selects Crank, The Meg, Wrath of Man, Death Race, and Snatch. Now, I'll be honest, I did notice a trend from, I guess, I'll just pause here, where, some of the episodes they appeared on tended to be the ones they picked, but take from that what you will. I mean, they chose those films to cover up for a reason, right? Because they like them already. Okay, our friend Spider-Dam, he says, Snatch, arguably his breakthrough role, Ritchie takes a risk by putting this relatively unproven unknown against a well-tested ensemble, but it massively pays off. And that's an interesting point, I think. Brad Pitt is in Snatch.
Yeah.
But you remember the Stath as well.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I think I remember the Stath more than I remember Brad Pitt. But Brad Pitt was so kind of chameleon in that role. I'm not saying an impression. I was going to do an impression.
No, fair enough. You don't want to get yourself cancelled, right? That's probably best not to.
The famous "Do you like dogs?" line.
Yeah. The cast is stacked in that, isn't it? I mean, you've got Dennis Farina, you've got Benicio del Toro, and then you've got other people who are like Stephen Graham. It's mad to think that he's in that as well, but he wasn't Stephen Graham yet. And
that's true. I mean, Snatch was more like a Hollywood storyline, wasn't it? And as we said earlier, like the gentrified Lock, Stock. More like audience friendly to an American audience, maybe.
Definitely, yeah. Other than, of course, the accents, which I believe they had subtitled. Much like Trainspotting, right? Trainspotting was subtitled, I think, in the States as well.
And Brad Pitt is. Have you seen California?
I have, but not for a long time. Yeah.
I mean, he played his role in Snatch, I think, is quite similar to the way he looked in California.
That's interesting.
Rough and ready Brad Pitt.
Yeah, California, but with his devil's own Irish accent.
Yeah, I did really like Snatch, actually. I do think that it is a very good film, but like I said, I need to go back and watch them both kind of in the same couple of day period. Now it's been a few years to see what I think about them.
Yeah, that'd be an interesting experiment. Dan also picks The Transporter. He says, setting up his not so cockney action market stall, an audition piece for his upcoming career. The beginnings of the persona that we would come to refer to as the Stath. He then said Crank, which is the Stath cranked up to 11. Utterly outrageous, fast, frenetic fun. You don't get films like Hardcore Henry without this entry in the filmography. He also picked The Expendables, and he says the Stath has finally arrived, rubbing shoulders with his cinematic hero. Effectively leading this ensemble was a big notch on his superstar belt. Which is true. I think I read effectively wrong there. I think he meant like he does it in an effective way rather than he is. Spy is his top choice, though. A loving lampoon of the very persona he established with deadpan delivery that would put Leslie Nielsen to shame. And it solidly cemented his comedy chops in Hollywood.
Yeah, that's very true. You should play the new Frank Drebin and the Naked.
Oh, nice.
Although I think Liam Neeson's doing it, so
he has been cast, hasn't he? Yeah, but maybe they could get him in as like as a character who could kind of take over again later. I don't know.
Yeah, or like again to not cast him in the lead role and have him like a Frank Drebin friend.
Yeah, nice. Actually, let's just cross over the wires. Let's have him as Rick Ford.
Yeah, good idea. Rick Ford popping up in the Naked Gun.
Yeah, I mean, actually, it works, doesn't it? Totally.
Yeah.
So we're seeing Spy quite a lot. We're seeing Snatch quite a lot. We're seeing the Meg quite a lot. I think they're the three most consistent so far.
Yes.
What I haven't done and should have done probably is made a tally, but
and the Transporter seems to come up quite a lot.
That's true. Okay, I've got a couple more. Mike Burton from Genuine Chit Chat. He says, for me, I've only seen like 10 to 15 Stath movies, but his list is number 1, The Meg, number 2, Spy, number 3, Snatch, number 4, Lock, Stock, and number 5, Death Race.
Interesting.
And that's cropped up a couple of times.
Yeah.
Mike, when he listens, I know he does. I find it weird when people list things 1 to 5, not 5 to 1. But again, is that my brain? I don't know. Maybe everyone does it 1 to 5. My brain says you should do it 5 to 1.
I would more often go from lower to top.
Yeah, so like you'd end on what is your...
Yeah, like the suspense.
Yeah. So what you're saying is Mike's weird, yeah? You say that, not me.
I like your top 2, Mike.
Yes, great choices. Okay, Blake says, Snatch is part of what made it all happen. The Transporter, which is a taste of the Stath. Blake's got a great way with words. Crank, he says, like Meg, etc., it's a taste of the silly. Spy, Statham playing Stath. And then he ended with Wrath of Man because I forced him to take out the bank job. Sorry, Blake.
Aww.
Dave Horrocks says, I'm going to go number 1, Lock, Stock, number 2, Snatch, number 3, Death Race, though probably more born out of my love of the original, number 4, The Fate of the Furious, and number 5, The Expendables. But he also says, I do love his role as Monk in Mean Machine.
Oh, we didn't even talk about that one.
No. Have you
seen that with Vinnie Jones?
Yes, correct.
I don't think I seen that since it came out.
No, I think I probably hadn't until we covered it for the show. And then obviously that's a remake of The Longest Yard, which is the Burt Reynolds.
Yeah, he looks like, I'm just looking, it looks like he's got hair in that.
And he does another interesting accent in that movie too. I think he's supposed to be Scottish.
2001, supposed to be Scottish. There are some interesting photos of him playing football.
Yeah, he's the goalkeeper in the movie. He's playing like the Stallone role from The Great Escape.
Yeah, I think I'm going to have to watch this.
Go in with medium to low expectations, I would say. And then it's fun.
Yeah, I will.
All right, 2 more. Chris Phelps, he chose Snatch. Crank, Expendables, Meg, and Wrath of Man.
Wrath of Man seems quite popular as well.
Yeah, I have to say that's high on my list as well. I think that's a really solid movie as a movie, but I think he's excellent in it. I don't know what you thought of.
I haven't seen it.
No, okay, that's another Guy Ritchie movie, but it's moving away from that kind of caper-esque, into kind of into more serious territory.
Yeah, I don't know why I missed that one.
And then Angry Andy, he says Lock, Stock, Snatch, The Expendables, The One, and The Beekeeper. But what he wanted to add was that he believes each of these movies is responsible for the evolution of the Stath, with The Beekeeper proving at his age that he can still kick mass bad guy ass, and that we all want to see it. He may not be the greatest, but he is great at what he does. Which was a lovely way to round up that kind of section.
Very good. Very good. Very true. Very true.
So, yeah, it was interesting seeing everyone's picks when they came through. That's pretty much covered off most people I had across season 1. 3 or 4 maybe that unfortunately didn't get around, didn't have time to forgot. My sister, when you listen, you forgot. You promised you wouldn't forget, but you forgot. But what I will do after this, which I should have done before, really, I'm going to be really interested to make a tally and see how many times each one comes up. But yeah, Snatch definitely stands out, doesn't it? The Meg stands out, and Spy stands out. I think they're going to be kind of the top 3.
Yeah, I think definitely. I was just looking at my tweets when I tweeted randomly, "Is Jason Statham our finest working actor today?" He might be. It's just from the Transporter 2, and he said, "I feel so lost and so confused." No, she said that, and he said, "Who isn't?"
Oh, I love it. Yeah,
he's just so knowledgeable.
He is deep, knowledgeable, and to use your word, he is also fine. That scene in the Meg when he comes out of the shower and the female character looks back in the window. I get it, love. We were all doing it. You were just the audience. You were doing it for us there within the movie. As an audience, we were doing the same.
Yeah, I love the relationship in the Meg, and like the fact that his ex was there. She was like supporting him getting together with the new woman. I found it quite I just really warmed to that story as well. Like, it's good to have a story you can warm to with a big attacking shark.
Yeah, well, that's where all those movies. Jaws is the landmark, obviously, but that's because you care about the people's relationships, their friendships, the characters. As you said with Aliens, it's the same. That is the gold standard, isn't it? You can say a character name from Aliens, and if you've seen it enough times, maybe even if you've seen it once, I don't know. You say Apone, you will think of the cigar. You will think of the fact you get straight out of the hibernation chamber, he puts the cigar straight in his mouth, or some of his key line. Whoever you say it about, they all stand out, don't they?
And a horror film's no good if you don't care about the characters, because you don't really care if they get eaten by the shark or just ripped apart by it as animal.
Yeah. That's so true.
Yeah,
he hasn't done a good horror though, has he? That's what we need. We need a horror from the Stath.
Yes, we do.
He could be the final girl. Maybe that's the problem. We just wouldn't believe the monster would stand a chance.
Yeah, no, I don't think he's done a horror.
No, not out and out.
Or he could be like Drew Barrymore in Scream. Just kill him off in the beginning.
Nice. And that would work, wouldn't it? Then we really would believe anything could happen. Take back the Stath.
I'm sure he's got a very girly scream.
Actually, it's one of those funny things. When you see certain actors, you see him kind of laughing and being jovial on set. Hugh Jackman's the best one for me. When you see him as Wolverine in the full rage, and you see him as the showman behind the scenes, and the Stath's a bit like that. Actually, he has that hard man on-screen persona, but is such a kind of giggly, laughy guy off camera.
Yeah, he seems like a nice bloke, and I hope he is.
Yeah, we don't want any of those stories coming out. All right, we're getting close to wrapping up. So I think all that's left for me to do is to announce who I'm going to focus on for season 2.
Ooh.
I know this is fresh. Some people know. I haven't kind of announced that in general. This is going to be fresh news for you. So I'm excited to see your reaction and what you think.
You must be sad to be saying goodbye to Jason.
I am. I really am. Of course, as new films keep coming out, I'll keep covering those as almost kind of additional episodes. But I'm excited. I'm excited to move on.
I'm excited to hear who it is.
Thank you. I mean, it's somebody who was never on any of my lists. And obviously, as I got nearer and nearer and nearer, I kept going back. You mentioned somebody, Charlize Theron was really high.
Oh, yeah, I love her.
Because she had such an interesting career. And what I liked about the Stath was he went from, as we discussed, you know, diver, dancer, model, street seller to actor. And of course, she started, you know, kind of model. She's had a different trajectory, but not as a trained actor as well.
No, I heard she was discovered because she was having a tantrum in a bank.
I mean, amazing, great, I love that. What a story! But the only reason she was my solid number one choice, but she's in too many movies with the Stath. I have to recover the Italian Job, and I'd have to recover all the Fast movies.
Crossover.
So I will. She's definitely high on the list for a bit down the line, but I'm keeping her back. I'm keeping her back for now. And then I can't remember what I was watching. Just one day, something just happened, and I was like, I wonder what that could be the person. And then I couldn't get it out of my mind. It was done. From that point onwards, I couldn't think about anyone else. So for season 2, it's going to launch soon. Yeah, thank you. I'm going to cover the McMahon, the McMyth, the McLegend, Matthew McConaughey.
Oh, nice. The man.
Yeah, exactly. That means I can start every episode with all right. All right.
Yeah, that's cool, man. I love Matthew McConaughey, and he's so varied in his career, and he didn't do what he wanted for such a long time doing rom-coms, and then he was like stood up for himself. He's like, stop casting me in these blinking rom-coms. I want to do serious stuff.
That's it, exactly. So I can talk about, you know, you're absolutely right. He starts off with a really exciting moment. He kind of has the same start as the Stath. Just discovered. I couldn't believe it that Dazed and Confused was his first movie. I thought that can't be right. There must be a couple of smaller things he hadn't done before, but that is it. I mean, he lands on screen in that movie immediately. And then you're right, he has this period, and then we get the reconnaissance, and now he is who he is. I read his autobiography as kind of prep, which was interesting. The Green Lights, it's called. That was interesting, and he goes into a lot of depth about his background and how he felt in that period of kind of rom-coms and being typecast. And so, yeah, I'm excited. It's going to be interesting. And of course, I'm going to have to break format a little bit, but I'm going to cover True Detective season 1 as well.
Yeah, awesome.
I don't think you can't. It's too important again for his career and where it's gone and how people saw and viewed him from being in that series.
Yeah, definitely. I was watching I forgot what it's called now. That film where he plays a lawyer.
The Lincoln Lawyer.
Lincoln Lawyer, yeah. I was watching it the other night. I really like that film. I think he's really good in that. He's a great actor. Again, very, very charismatic. Yeah, that's going to be exciting.
And seems like a decent guy as well. So I think that's a big deal for me, is that if I've got to spend this amount of time with somebody, I need to feel like there's somebody I want to spend that time with. Yeah,
nice. And you've got lots of diverse films, different films to watch. So you're going to watch them all?
Watch them all, yeah, from Dazed Confused and up until now and including, spoilers just in case, Wolverine and Deadpool, which he is in, playing one of the variant Deadpools.
Yes, and will you be watching them in order of time?
Yeah. So I'll stick to the format. We'll follow them all the way through. So it'll be a long time till I get there. He's actually got about 10 more movies than the Stath. So I had to have a mini break during this season. So it's been about between 2.5 and 3 years. So it'd be roughly the same to cover off the whole of the McConaughey.
I'd assumed he'd been in more than that.
No, yeah. That is a parameter for me as well. Like Nick Cage would be amazing to cover.
Gosh.
Exactly.
So many Nick Cage films.
There's too many. I'd be doing it for 10 years.
Yeah, and you've just got then the random Nick Cage 100 films, which are just all the same.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. No, that's going to be good news about Matthew McConaughey.
Good. I'm glad. And, if you've enjoyed yourself tonight, thank you. I've really enjoyed talking to you.
Yeah,
have a look at his films. And if there's any you fancy coming on, we'll do an individual film discussion.
Great. Thank you very much for having me.
Brill. Is there anything going on in your world? Any other podcasts you're appearing on or any festivals that you're involved with that you would like to promote at this point?
I mean, yeah, we have Forbidden Worlds Film Festival coming up in October in Bristol, the 11th and 12th of October. So that we'll be doing the big screen, the horror small festival from our main festival. I'm also working on Film Bath for October, which will be in Bath. And just if anyone new wants to follow me, I'm mostly just on Twitter, Tessa Cat. So I'm
excellent. I mean, at what point can you like they do like Jaws in a Lido, and can you do watching films in a bath in Bath?
Yeah, you can.
I'm trying to think of like what
in the ruin baths.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Nice. Yeah. Like what films have like kind of key bath scenes, or like how you can really push that format? I'm not sure.
The Nightmare on Elm Street.
Yeah. Nice. I recently watched Body Snatchers. Dan carved out on his show that has a scene in the bath. Yes,
that is a good film. I love that film, Body Snatchers.
Yeah, really underrated.
Definitely, it might be my favorite Body Snatchers film.
That's a bit cool.
Again, nostalgia for me because I grew up with that one.
Yeah.
But yeah, I love that film. It's great.
Well, there you go. If you get really stuck for ideas, watching films about baths in Bath.
Well,
thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, everyone. Thank you for listening and partaking in this journey with me through the Stath Filmography. And that is it for season 1. As we've discussed on the show, I'll drop back in on the Stath for some additional episodes, catching up with his new works, but it's time to move on. So season 2, focused on Matthew McConaughey, will be launching very soon. Stay tuned to Extra Twitter to find out when. Going to take a couple of weeks, get a couple of episodes in the bank, and then we'll start with Dazed and Confused. Thanks, everybody. And until next time, be excellent to each other and make sure you take the time to treat yourself too. I am Jack signing off. Yippee-ki-yay, movie lovers.
Cut.